We're practicing CSS. In our previous video, we worked on HTML and we used Replit, an online code editor. So let's just dive right into it and let's go to Replit. I'll show you a brief of what we did in our last practice so that in case you could go back if you wish to check what we did on HTML. We did a full body of work on HTML. We worked on HTML syntax. We worked on listing, ordered list, unordered list. We worked on headings. We worked on table, as you can see from here. We worked on forms. We worked on button. We worked on checkbox. Yes, we worked on radio button. We worked on leaving a comment where we use the text area. We worked on imputing an image. We worked on imputing a link where we used anchor tags and we linked to the link, and we could make it leave the page. So that's what we did. But this time around, we're going to work on CSS. So let's just come here, click on create Replit. What are we working on this time around? Let's say introduction to CSS. Okay. You need to first of all choose the template, which is the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And our title here is Introduction to CSS, right? So our work is created. HTML syntax, and we're just going to delete some part of this document that is not needed, like we did in the previous practice. So we won't be needing this metal information, or we can also leave it there. Basically, I believe this metal chassis, metal name, and all of this thing is for a responsive web page, a web page that probably can be responsive on multiple devices like mobile screen as well as desktop screen. So we have the title here is Replit, and let's give this title CSS, right? Introduction to CSS. So it's going to make more sense. Let's give this introduction to CSS. Now, HTML class, we made mention that the title is the link that this page is going to carry on the web page. Just like when you open Facebook, you see the title here. It says Facebook, right? And this heading here, you see Facebook. So that's what the title is. Now, we need to also link to CSS, which is the most important thing to do, because if you don't link to your CSS, your styling is not going to be effective. So let's call our CSS file. I think we should rename this as well to introduction.css. Introduction.css, right? So we have the title here. Now, this syntax that Replit already created has shown us, or it has added the link, right? So for the record, I'm just going to talk about the link. The link is a self-closing tag, this particular highlighted tag, and this is where we link to CSS. Now, we have link, and it has this closing. It doesn't have a corresponding closing tag. In between the first or the opening tag, we have the href, right? And this is where we put in the name, or rather the title, or let me just say that, yes, the name of our CSS file, which is called introduction.css. So I put this here to be introduction.css. Remember, it had style.css before, and that's because it already linked to our CSS document, which was previously called style.css, but I changed the name to introduction.css. Hence, I'm changing this here, this href, to introduction.css. And what's the relationship? It's a style sheet. And what's the type? It's a CSS type. So just leave it this way. But basically, all you need to know is the link, the href. This is where we are referencing. Just like when we use an anchor tag to bring in a link. Remember, we always put an href, which contains the HTTPS link to the web page that we want the link to outbound to. So we have this introduction.css and the relationship. This is the most important thing, which is the style sheet. I don't think the type is necessary, but since it's already here, it's still going to run even if you don't put this type.css. We can comment that out, and we can still leave that in this document. So remember, this link is between the header, right? It's between the header in the HTML. It's not in the body. It's in between the opening tag and the closing tag of the head. That is where you link to your CSS file. So let's just bring our CSS file here as well, so we can work on the CSS alongside with HTML. So other syntax here, of course, this is the body, the opening tag of the body and the closing tag of the body. Then we have the hello world. That's why it's bringing out this hello world as our code, what we imputed in our editor. So I'm just going to delete this JavaScript for now. Here is linking to JavaScript, and since we're not working on anything JavaScript, let's just remove the JavaScript code out of this. So in order for us to get started, we have a body says hello world, and we want to work on CSS. Let's start with the basics. Let's do a heading just like we did in our previous video. Let's do h1, and let's say this is introduction to CSS, right? And we'll run this. Okay, so let's just put a paragraph and let's just get started with working on CSS. We have this paragraph opening tag of P and closing tag, and let's say that we want to learn the basics of CSS to familiarize with the styling of our web page. Great. So we have this. We could run it. Let's see. This is done. Okay. I think I want us to work. Let's just add more information in this paragraph so that we can have something concrete to work on. So this recording is for beginners who are new to coding. Let's talk about some coding details that you might need to know. So HTML is the most popular programming language, as most or all web pages on the internet contains HTML. Let's open another paragraph and just give us a line of text. CSS is used to style HTML to bring colors effect and customization to our web page. CSS is called cascading style sheet. Let's work on list, and let's use heading 2 before this. Things we are going to talk about: let's use ordered list. List item 1. We are going to talk about divs, very important. List item 2. We're going to talk of span. We are going to work on classes. Sorry. Then we're going to work on ID. Then we're going to work on styling a simple, we're going to style a simple form using CSS. Is there any other thing I think it's important for us to talk about? We're going to work on adding image in CSS as well. So I won't have to forget that. Image in CSS. And we're going to just work on some CSS selectors as well. I think this is just what we're going to work on for now. So let's run this and let's get the output. Good. So we have a basic HTML. So let's just start to style on CSS and let's see how that goes. We have we've linked. Don't forget, you use a link. You call up a link attribute, and it's a self-closing. Sorry, you call up a link tag rather, and it's a self-closing tag. In between the link, you put in your href, that is where you're linking to, which is the title of your CSS document, introduction.css, and your relationship between it, which is the style sheet. And we have CSS. So we're in CSS now. CSS already told us that this is how it works. We have your HTML tag here. Then you have your opening braces. This is called curly braces. And in between, you have the property and the value. So the property you want to style is the height, then you put the value. Property you want to style here is the width, then you put the value. So basically, CSS is this. You have a selector tag. Right? You have a space, and you have your curly braces. Then you have the property you want to style. You have the colon, then you have the value of the property and a semicolon. That's basically CSS. So you keep adding the property, then you have a colon, value, and a semicolon. So basically in CSS, you call up the tag, you have a curly bracket, you put the property and the value. Whatever property and value that you want to style in this tag is going to show for it. Now, some selectors we have in CSS include classes and ID. We're going to work on classes. I will show you how we use classes and ID in CSS to style. I'm sorry for that. We use a dot before the class name. Then to style an ID, we use hashtag. Possibly the name of the ID is today. Then we had a space, a curly braces. Then we had the property and value. Let's say the property is a button, and we're styling it by adding a border radius. You put the border radius maybe 24 pixel. You put a color as well. Possibly you want the button to be red because you want it to be visible. So this is how you style a tag. You style an ID, right, using hashtag, and you style a class using the dot then the class name. Great. Also in CSS we can style a tag and call up maybe a tag in a tag. So for instance, we have a table, right, as a tag. We have table, right? We want to only style the head. We're just going to call t head, just like we worked on our previous HTML practice. And then we had a space and a curly parenthesis. So whatever styling goes into this, it's only going to be effective on the table head. Then we can also style our div and our span. So I think we should just comment this out and we'll get started with styling this body of HTML that we've worked on. To comment in CSS, we make use of this / then a star. This is comment in CSS. Then we have a star and the /. Now don't forget, I said comment is used to make a line of code ineffective, basically. And you could also use comments to pass out or to pass information to whomever is reading the code. So comments are unexecutable codes, right? So we could just close this, or rather we could delete this, and we can comment this whole introduction that we wrote out here. You put a / a star, then at the end you put a star, then the / You can see we've commented this out and this is done. To make it easy for those that are using Windows, you can use Control 4 then /, while for those using Mac you could use Command 4 and /, right? Command 4 and the / or Control 4 and /. It helps you to comment out the entire part of the work you want to comment, the entire part of the code you want to comment. So I'll just highlight this, right, and I use this to comment the entire thing. So this is good. Now let's now work on styling our HTML. So we have h1 tag here, we have h2 tag, we have some paragraphs, and we have some lists. So for this h1, we could just call up the tag directly. Remember, to call up a tag, to work on HTML, the syntax is the tag, which is the h1, the space, then the curly braces. And what do we want to style? The property, and add a value to it. We want to style this h1. We want to put a color. I want my color to be let me say purple. Okay, it's not effective. Definitely we need to look at our HTML and see why our CSS is not effective. So tried this CSS, and of course it wasn't effective. What I observed is there was an error in the title of the CSS document. Here we have just introduction.css, and if you observe, there's a dot here which is not in the title. So we need to change this to CSS and remove the dot. In fact, I would suggest we rewrite or link directly ourselves and don't rely on the system linking. So I do this link. It's a self-closing tag, remember, and I close it. Then in between I have href introduction.css. I have the relationship, which is a style sheet. I'm good with this. So let's run this, and I'm sure our CSS is going to be effective. So we have color purple for the heading, right? I think we should add the background as well. A background color. The background color. Let's make this background color to be any color in mind. Let's say yellow. Yeah, I'm not so good with colors, except I use with the help of the internet. So we have the background color to be this. Now we could also style this heading by adding a font size, right? Let's say we want to add a font size of let's say 20 pixel. It's really going to be large, but we want it to be bigger. So we've added this. Oh, it's actually small. So let's do 40 or 50 pixel font size. So we see, okay, this is good. So let's add a font family. Font family is I think that should be like Times New Roman and the likes, right? Okay, this is a font family. We want to add a font family. Let's try adding a font family. If you can see, okay, we have a font family. We've added font size. We could add a font weight. Let's see. Is that Times? Okay, we have Times New Roman. Yes, let's see this. Okay, it has added that. We could add, we've added background color, we've added font size. We could add font width. I see font width. So there are just so many. If you scroll down, you can see font style, display, variant, and all of these things. So we've been able to, learn about using tags and how to style tags in HTML, right? So let's just go to our paragraph. Now this is where we talk about divs. For divs now, I want us to use div, yeah, like to divide, right? Okay, for this paragraph, and we close this div, yeah, we close this div, and in between your div, then you can now use a span. So let's see now. HTML is the most popular programming language, as most or all web pages on the internet contains HTML. Now this particular sentence, I want to put a span because I want to edit them separately. I want to put a span here. I close it. So I've closed this now. Let us style this div. Remember, this div is in this paragraph. Let me bring this down so we can see it clearly. We have this div. Inside this paragraph of we want to learn the basics of CSS to familiarize with the styling of our web page. And we have the span inside that same paragraph, but they are all inside the div. So we do this now. Come to our CSS. Let's call up that div tag. We say div. And let's use color as well. We want to make that div color to be blue. We want to make that color blue. Let's run this. You're going to see that the entire paragraph, perfect. The entire paragraph is blue. Now we want to style our span, which is in the div. So we call up the span tag because we are working on tag. And for that particular information that HTML is the most popular programming language, I don't know if it's true, but we could contest that. But let me put that in highlight. So let's use color. Let's use color red. Let's use a color red, and we have this to be red. So let's run this. I'm pretty sure we're going to have a particular span is red. So this is how you use your div and span, right? You can use a div and you can put a span in your div and style your div, then you style your span. So we have this list. I think we need to style our list as well. We can call up OL, which is ordered list. Then add a space, open a parenthesis, and what can we do about our list? Let's add I think let's just add color, or rather let's add a font let's add a font width. Of let's say 10 pixel. I don't think this font width was called. Let's use font. Okay, they use font weight here. Okay, it's a font width of 10 pixel, and we can run this. Okay, let's say for the ordered list, let's say we want to add the color. Oh, I don't know why I keep spelling color with the U. Okay, let's use a color. Let's use cyan. Okay, so we have this color. Let's use, okay, I think that's pretty much of a div, span, and the likes. Also, we talked about adding classes and IDs. So style, okay, I think we should just go straight ahead to style a simple font. and let's use classes and ID. And let's talk about adding image. Let me add an image to this folder here, and let's see how we can add an image. Let's go to photos. Okay, is there any image I think we can add? And how to add? It's not loading. Let me see. Is there any other image in my... Okay, we could just download an image from the internet, and let's get access to that. Use Unsplash. Just any image. Let's use nature. Nature background. Okay, this is beautiful. This is absolutely beautiful. Let's use this image. Nature. So we have that already. Let's call it up on our CSS so we can know how to add image, possibly a background. Let's add this, upload file, and in our downloads we have a nature image. Okay, this is it. It's already here. I don't know, is CSS going to accept this? This is .avif. I would have preferred a .jpg. JPEG. Let me see if I can get something else. But we're going to try that regardless. Let's use this. Okay, we have this to be in .jpg. Let's add this to our file. We had this uploaded. It's in the downloads, and we have it to be this. Okay, it's a practice with me video, so you have to be here so we can get to understand things together. So I think let's use this as a background. So let's call up the body tag, body space curly braces, and we want to add a background image. Background image. Now for this background image, let's call up this image that is in our folder. So for CSS, you use URL, and inside the URL you put in this. Oh, it's even going to accept the nature. So let's run this now. It's going to be in our background. Remember, for HTML you use img image, which is equally a self-closing tag. Then you put in the source and the alternative text if you want to. So you see this now. I think CSS is making more sense, and I would want us to work on, let's work on a really small something. Just like we said, let's style a simple form using CSS. So let's do that together, and let's see how the form is going to come to life. I think we should just delete this and work on the form. Okay, so let's come to our HTML. We all know how to work on forms, but let's do that again together. For a form, let's say, okay, come form, tell the system we're working on form, right? And we want to take a form, want to make a form that can, where you can input your name, your last name, your password, your phone number, your email address, for registration, possibly for you to create an account or yeah, let's just say for you to create an account in a school website. So let's do this. We start with the form, and the very first thing we do is input. Input is a self-closing tag. I want to go back to CSS and remove this background so we can have a fresh. Let me just comment it out so it can be very visible. We can have a clear HTML. Okay, good. So we have input. In between the input, we have the type. It's a text. And let's put a placeholder, which is first name. If you don't know how to do this, please go and watch the practice HTML full video to have a full understanding of how to create forms and tables. So we have first name, we have more inputs, the type, we have it's a text as well, placeholder, we have it to be last name. I'm just going to work on this really fast without much explanation. Let's have the break so it can be on the next line. Break as well, it's a self-closing tag. There are just some self-closing tags you need to know in HTML. Add the break to this as well. Add the break, a break, okay. I'm just going to copy this and paste it multiple times and edit it. So we have a text, and I'm going to put this here to be password. And I'll make this here to be password. Then I'll make here as well to be password. Make the placeholder as well to be password. Right? And I come here. Let's run this. We want phone number, and okay, instead of password, yes, make this confirm password. Full name, last name, and phone number, email, then a submit button. Email, email, phone number, okay, so it's going to be a number. The basic thing about HTML is understanding. You don't need to cram anything, just understand. So number, and this will be phone number as a placeholder. Make all of this in capital letter to give a little bit of uniformity. So let's run this. Okay, Now let's use classes, then we'll try also using id. So let's create a div first. A div in this form. It's not necessary we create a div. We can still put the class in between this form and continue what we're doing. But I just want us to use a div because we're going to do some styling. Now in between this div now we should have h2. Let's use header 2 and call this sign up form. Okay, let's see this. Okay, it's making sense. First name. Okay, I think we should also put something called required. Let's put required. Required yes. Okay, so we're done. We've added an input for first name, last name, password, confirm password, email, phone number. So we need to add another input for submit, but this time around I would suggest we use let's call up a tag called button rather than using input. So let me use this button, close it, and say submit, right? So I think this should be better than using the input and using a type called value. So it's also the same thing. Button makes the system understand that okay, it's a button that is supposed to register some information that is being submitted by the user. So now we have this. After that, let's also do something called if you don't have an account, kindly register, or rather kindly create one. If you already have an account, kindly sign in, something like that. I think it makes more sense to do that. So we are going to just add, I think let's add a paragraph, right? A paragraph is going to be better. Let's add a paragraph saying, are you already signed up, or rather, do you already have an account? I think that's the most appropriate term to use. Do you already have an account? Question mark. Then we tell you to sign in, right? But that sign in, of course, it should be clickable so you can move to a sign in page. So let's introduce our anchor tag right here and close it and say this is sign in. Of course, it's a link, so we need to put an href, right? So it can link to a different page. But for now, let's just use an hashtag. That is, there's no link for us to put, but let us put an hashtag so it can recognize that it's an anchor tag and it's supposed to go somewhere. So let's run this and let's see. Perfect. All right, let me add a space so it can be good, right? So if you observe, this my paragraph is outside the form, it's not within the form, and I would also like to style it. Let me also use id this time around so we can be on the same page. Let's use id. So let's use a div as well. Let's use a div and opening div here. Okay, now I see that we have an open div here already. We have at the end of this form, let's add a closing div. It's really going to in order for us not to make a mistake. So we have an opening tag for a div and a closing tag. So in between this, for the paragraph, let's add an id, and let's call this id account. I think this is better. Let's call this id account. So we can now begin to style our form. I think let's just style the entire thing. Let's go back to our CSS file. Okay, I commented all of this out. Where I commented all of this out. So then let me just let me delete all of this and let's begin styling. So we've successfully linked, and it's time for us to style. Our first div here is for this h2, and let's put a class. Let's put a class here to be we have a class. Let's call it sign up. Makes sense to call it sign up. So the thing is this: be mindful of whatever text. In case you use cap lock or anything, it should be the same way you're calling it up in your CSS. Remember, CSS is your tag, right? Then a curly bracket and the property, then the value. So, but whenever you're calling up a class, you're supposed to use a dot class, the class name rather, and the class name we have here is sign up. So we have dots, then we have sign up, and a space. Call this up. Now, what do we want to style in this entire thing? The very first thing for me, in order for it to look good, I think let us put a background image, like a background color. Yeah, a background color. Let's use cyan or cyan. Let's just use this and let's see. Let's run this. Okay, this looks good. Now let's we've added this color. I think what I want to do is, within this same sign up, we have an h which tag do we have? We have an h2 tag, and remember we also have an h2 tag. I think in this, do we have any h2 tag elsewhere here? Okay, we don't. So we can just call up our h2 tag, right? We can style that. We can do that as well. So for instance, now I can just go outside this. I remember for tags, you just call them out directly. You don't need to use hashtag. And I say color. I think I want to use blue for this. So I want to use blue. Okay, color. I want to use blue for this. So let's see how that goes. Okay, h2 tag. Okay, that has been able to effect. Now let's add the width. Let's go back to our sign up. Let's keep styling our form. Let's add the width. Okay, one more thing is this. Now if you observe, we have more than one h2 tag. I needed to be sure if I had other h2 tag in my code, and I have another h2 tag. That's the reason why this particular one is also blue. But I don't want both of them to be blue. I just want the one in my form to be blue. So I want to call up the class dot sign up and the h2, just the h2 in the sign up, not all of my h2 tags, right? So I have already, great, this is now, so that means you can always call up a particular tag in a class or a particular tag in an id. So we've added this background color. Let us keep styling our form. Let us also add a width, because it's really important for us to add the width. I feel like the form is too, the background color is too large. Let us just limit it to the form. So let's add a width, and we have this width. We add the width. Let's say 250 pixel would be nice to have. 250 pixel. Let's run this immediately so we can see what we're doing. Okay, this is good. We have this in the form. Great. So I think we should add a margin, especially a left margin. I think it's too close to the edge of the screen. So I would love to add a text margin. I will just call that margin left because I want the margin to be from the left. So I have margin left, and let's give it a value of, let's say, maybe 200 pixel. 200 pixel. Let's run this and see where we are at. Okay, this is good. This is good. Now I also feel like the inputs are too close to the edge, as well as the H2. So this particular H2, I want to center it. So I'm just give it a text alignment. Line. It's supposed to pop up for me, but sometimes it just happens like I need to just type it myself. Let me see. Align. Text align this, and I want it center. I finish it with a semicolon. Let me run this. It's supposed to work, even though it didn't pop up for me to select. Okay. I really don't know, but we're just going to keep practicing. Let's see. Let's put text align for the sign up. We want everything in the form to be in the center. Because it seems like our H2 is also within the form. So everything in this class called sign up should go to the center, regardless of the inputs or the heading. So this should work. Okay, this is good. We have the text align center now. Let's put a margin to the top. So let's put a margin to the top. You can even add so many things you can decide to style. Add the margin top, let's say 90 pixel, and let's see the difference. 90 pixels. Let's see. Okay, I think this is too much. There's too much space between this last and the other one. So let me just say maybe 30 pixel. Let's see, and let's run this. Okay, it's looking good. One more thing I think we should add, let's add a padding. For me, I always like to add the padding because it gives this kind of lift. Let's add a padding of let's say 40 pixel. Add a padding around of 40 pixel. You're going to see the difference. This is good. You see, we've added the padding around the form. We've added this entire padding. So I think our form is looking good, and we can leave that. Now I think I would want us to style the input itself, only the input. Let's style the input. For us to style the input, we can just call up the input on its own, because of course the input here is a tag. We don't need to put class and put input before we style. Otherwise, except if we have other inputs. So perhaps I have other inputs. I could also say dot sign up, right? Then I select the input tag. So if I do have, but if you look at our HTML code here, we only have one kind of input, which is this form, and that's where we are making our correction. We don't have any other input anywhere. So I'm just going to remove this .css and just call up the tag directly. Input space curly braces, enter. And what do I want to style in my input? I would want maybe the text align as well to be center. Let's do that for text align to be center. I'd also would want okay, let's run this. I want to run everything as I could, so I know the one that does work or the one that doesn't work. Okay, this is great. This is good. Then let me put the width. Let me make it bigger. The width of the input field. Maybe let me say 200 pixel. 200 pixel for the width. I have 200 pixel for the width. Okay, yes. This is good. It's longer, right? I want to also add, you could style the font size, the font weight, and all those things we've been doing in let's put the font size. Let's give it a font size of, let's say, 18 pixels. Okay, it's larger. Let's give it a font weight. Let's give it a font weight. Let's give it a font weight of 200. Font weight, yeah, 200 pixels. It's not going too bad. We could even change the font family. That's what CSS does. Just call up the property and assign a value to it. Okay, let me comment this out. I want to know the difference it made. Don't forget to comment. You hold on your you hold on your command rather, for and forward slash, to comment out your code. And I always keep emphasizing, comment is an unexecutable code. They are unexecutable code. So for those that are using Windows, you could use control instead of command. So since I already commented this out, and this, I really don't see much difference in the font weight, but let me remove the comment so that the code can be executable. Let me see if there's going to be really much change in the font weight. Okay, still the same. Okay, I think I want to also add a padding around this. Let me add a padding to this. Padding to the entire input. Let me give it a 10 pixel. Hopefully it won't be too much. And let me see. Oh good, it's larger, right? This the box is bigger. What else can we add? I think we should change the background as well. Maybe you can change the background to any color. Background, the background of the inputs. And which color? Let me say purple. Let's see what we have for purple. Oh, this is coming up good. This is good. Let me make I don't know, is this purple really nice? Or I don't know. I think it should be let's make it professional. Let's make it white. Let's just make it white. This black, this purple is it's kind of odd. Okay, good. Now, what else can we do? Now the color, right? You should also edit the color. I want to type, right? Maybe when I'm typing my first name, okay, it's black. Maybe I could want to change the color. Let me say color of my input here. Please, color, we have let me say purple. Actually, so this is like my name, purple. This would be nice. Excuse me. Now don't forget the syntax. Property, value. But between your property and value, there needs to be a colon and a semicolon to close it out. Otherwise, it won't run. That's the thing about code. You just need to really understand the syntax. Okay, let's see. First name. Oh, good. You see, I like this. I'm not changing the color. So when I'm typing, I have it in purple. Okay. What else can we add to this? We've added a text, a line, a width, border. Let me see if this is going to work. Perhaps I don't even want a border. I'm not so sure, but we could. There are just so many properties to call up. Let's see, border, and I want it to be 0 pixel. So there's going to be any difference. Wow, it's literally removed the border. Okay, so I'm commenting this out because I don't think I want my phone to look this way. Alright, so if there is any other thing, maybe I can think about it as we continue. So for our sign up, background color, width, margin left, we've added margin top, we've added padding, input as well. Okay, I think we should style the button, right? As well as the text beneath, the text under this. Do you already have an account? So we're going to call up an ID, right? Because we have a div here and we have an ID. We have an attribute where we have an ID. So to call up an ID, don't forget you use an hashtag. Hashtag the ID, the name of the ID, which is account, everything in lowercase. You have to be very careful, otherwise it's not going to, the CSS would not, won't take, it won't reflect basically. So that's another thing to be very careful of. Okay, now we have this and enter. So what should we do? I think we should first of all center as well. Text alignment, let's center it, let's see. And okay, it's centered already, but I want it to be centered just as this is. So I'm going to also do a margin or a margin left, just like the way we have here. It's like the way we have it in the sign up here. A margin left to be 200. We have margin left. Margin left. Let's do 200 pixels. Let's see. Hopefully this is going to be right in the center. Okay, this is good. Then what else can we style? Let us style I think we should style the font family, or let's just let's style the font family. Maybe let's give it a font family, or a font family. Maybe I think I'm really good with Times New Roman and the likes. Times New Roman. Let's give it this. Let's see. Okay, this is done. Let me say I want to change the color. I don't even want this signing to be in blue. I want it to be in another color, right? And it's an anchor tag. So I just call up my anchor tag directly, which is a, right? A space, curly braces, and I say I want the color to be let me say gold. I want to put this color. Let me see this. Remember, if this gold is not coming out the way I would have loved, let me use another color that is bright. Which other color? Seriously, I can only think of green or purple. Let me see it. Green or green yellow. Let me see this. Remember, if in your code you already have other anchor tags elsewhere, all you need to do is I call up the div, right, or the ID, and I use the anchor tag, right, just like the way I explained for this sign up. So perhaps we have other h2 tags, right? I just want this only the effect to be on this h2 tag. This would happen. Now if let me digress now. If this h2, I want to start just h2, I call up h2 tag, and I have this. I have the color. And I want this one to be gray. Let me say I want it to be gray. It's only going to be effective on that h2. Good. gray isn't even, it's not giving, it's not giving. Let's say um let's just say purple, so I won't have to be thinking of color. Let's say purple, just real purple, and we have this just like that. We are yet to style the button. I think it's really very important for me to style the button. Really important for us to style the button, because the button is so small. So let's go to the button. Remember, the button is on its own, it's not in the div, so it's not going to this the class, us styling the class is not going to be effective. Okay, it should be right. Oh, perfect, it's in the div and we have the button within the form, right? The reason why it's not effective when we styled this particular one, I'm just going to call up my tag directly and just say button, rather than, because I already styled the input, right? Okay, the reason why it wasn't effective, great, was because we were only styling the input. We didn't say this hashtag, this, we didn't say sorry, we didn't say class, which is dot, we didn't say dot sign up, and we started styling. The only dot sign up we took was this, so we didn't take a dot sign up. So perhaps if I even change this input to a class, if I say dot sign up, everything I did here is going to cover for this submit, right? But now I remember why I just decided to call up the tag input and edit, is because I don't want my sign up, I want my sign up to be different, rather I want my button to be different. This is my submit, so I'm just going to call up the submit and I say button, because it's in a button tag, space, it's in a button tag, remember. So what I want to do is I want to increase the width, I want it to be bigger, I want some other things, I want it to be padded. So let me just start with the width. And I put the value of 200 for the width. If I add this value of 200 and I run this, it should be bigger now. Okay, I want a padding. Let me add a padding on all sides. I want the padding to be, let me say 10. Let me add a font size, because it's kind of small. So font size, let me add a font size of 18, because we added 18 previously, so let me do 18 so it could be uniform. It's not going to run. Remember, I need a semicolon, and I do this, and then there is a border, so I want to add the border radius. I want it to be like a real button, so I'm going to add a border radius. Let me give it a value of 24. Okay, this is good. Okay, one more thing I think I want to add is, let me just add if you observe, I would want to make, okay, let me possibly add a background of white while I change the color for submit. So let me add a background now. Background for background and say I want it maybe white, or yes, white should be better, or even gray. But let me see how that goes. And I want it such a way that when you hover around this button, the color changes, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it, first of all, I'm going to add a pointer, because see, this is arrow. It's not like I want to add an arrow. So this is where the required comes in. First name, it's just FIST. The grammar error there. So FIRST. I want to add a button. I want to add a a pointer. I want this thing to change to like an and or something. So I just say cursor. I want it to be a pointer. Let's see how this goes. Let me run this and see. Oh, good. It has changed. So now I already have this, and I want this color to change. This button, and when I over around it, the color changes. I'm going to call up button, and I'll say is the over I want. So just say button. In the button, right? Over. We have over, and so we can add a color. We can add a color to this. And which color should I add? Let me say blue. So by the time when you're on it, it changes to blue. So we have a background of blue. I have a background, let's say blue, and let's see how this comes. Blue violet. Okay, good. Let me see the color. Let me add the color of white. Let me have a color white. So I think now my form is looking good, and we are done. You can see for the button over, by the time I come here, the color changes to white, but when I don't over, it's black. And what else can we put? I think this sign in, this anchor tag, I want it to be bigger. The font is kind of small, so let me say font. So I say the font size, let me give it the same 18, and I'm even going to change the color because that color is also not really, it's not so nice. It's even hard to see. So for this over, I'm just change it to gold. And let me see this. Do you already have an account? So should be bigger. It's kind of small, so I'm going to add the font size. And for me to edit that, if you see my HTML, it's in an ID of account. So I'm just going to come back here and call up that ID. Did I call it before? Account. Okay, I called it before. And I'm going to say font size, and it's going to be 18. Okay, let me see. Well, okay. So I think right now this is CSS. This is an introduction to CSS. This is just to show you what we can do with CSS, and I'm kind of happy about this form, but I'm going to edit this because I observe that as I change this this do you already have an account, it goes far away. So I'm going to remove the text alignment that I originally kept as center. Under account, text alignment, I'm going to comment this out. Let me comment this out. Let me run it again and see. So okay, yeah, so as I change it, it remains where it is, because I already told you that margin left should be 200 pixels, so it's going to just be responsive to the screen size. And think I should edit here is this. When you hover around this as well, I want the color to change, so I'm going to just call up a hover for the anchor. So I'm just going to say the anchor tag, right? Then hover as well. Let's call up a hover. The thing is, with time, there are just too many of these tags and properties. So for that, I say whenever I want it, I want to change the color, so I just say color. So whenever I want it clicked on, the color should change, and I'm going to give it a color of red. And let me try this out. Oh, good. All right, so now this placeholder for me is really too bright. I really don't think it should be this bright. So as well, what I learned is to call up those placeholders, you need to use a double colon, and you see all of the tags that you use a double colon to call up would appear. So you can look for the one you want to use, or whichever one you think you want to style. For me, it's a placeholder I want, so I can just say placeholder, yes. And I want my placeholder color, I don't want it to be this visible, so let me just say, even if I put the color to be gray, let's say gray, let's say gray, since it's a color. Or let me say black, or let's just say black. Let me see. Black. Oh, it's not supposed to be cap lock. Black. And this. Let me see. Oh, I could even use another color for the placeholder if I want to. Still this. Okay. Let me see. For okay, I see where the problem is. It's supposed to be in my curly brackets, which is color. Black. Now let me run this. Oh, good. See, it's a placeholder, but it's so bright. So you can also, reduce the opacity. You can reduce the opacity, let's say 0.5. I'll just try out any value, and let's see. We can even make it, opacity is on a scale of 100, right? So that's 0.5 is like 50%. It's still the same as it was. So let me just say 0.3. 0.3. Okay, it's not bad. Let's try 0.1. Okay, and it's extremely faint. Leave it at 0.3. And we have come to the end of our mini project in the introduction to CSS. This is a sign up form where you can put your name, your last name, your phone number, create a password, you confirm the password, and you can submit. When you type, we did some tweak on CSS, and that's just all much about the introduction. And I want you to always remember that whenever you're calling up a class, you use a dot. Whenever you're calling up a tag, you use an hash, like this. In CSS, to comment is a slash, a star, then you close it with a star and a forward slash. Another thing I think I made mention of, because I also want us to remember again, is that if it's not a class or an ID, you can just call up the tag directly, just like inputs, right? Space, curly braces, and put the properties and the values, right? And remember, if maybe you have a lot of HTML and you want to just call up a particular tag, of course you need to put it in a div and give it a class. So you can now call up that particular class and the tag, just like we have in this sign up, and your correction or your CSS is going to be effective for that particular tag you want to edit or you want to style. So this has come to the end of this, and hopefully we're going to advance, or I am going to advance and I'm going to keep sharing my lessons with you. I'm going to keep showing you what I've learned, and I hope you also learn as well. All right, have we covered this? Span, classes, ID, style is simple form, image in CSS. Oh, okay, for image in CSS, in case for image in CSS, we added this nature.avif. I already did that. So but all you need to do is just call up and use a URL. So we come to the end of this. I'll see you later. Bye.